Paid parental leave with father quota. In the past 50 years, the amount of moms working has risen significantly. While 41 countries offer paid parental leave, 20 of them have most of it allocated to mothers. While the United States does not currently have any federal mandated paid parental leave, there are states that do, including California. The House of Representatives voted on paid parental leave of 12 weeks for federal employees. As of January 2020, the program was signed and will be effective this October. Paid parental leave goals are to improve outcomes for children. It improves life and work balance that leads to better child care and help alleviate burden of paying extra expensive early child care. Early development is important to children's outcomes. Paid parental leave also improves outcomes for women. It can alleviate burdens largely left to mothers. This affects both short-term and long-term potential. Any mixture of funding can be used to supply a range of benefits, but only three countries' programs are funded solely by the government. There are no OECD countries where maternal benefits are provided solely by the employers. In many OECD countries, both employers and employees contribute to a share of earnings towards the cost of parental benefits. For OECD countries in which employers contribute to the cost of paid parental leave, there are no evident differences in labor force participation, employment rates, and GDP growth compared to those that do not. Countries requiring government contributions to the cost of paid parental leave had a similar distribution of GDP growth. According to the United States, most people think that employers should be the ones paying for leave. While smaller firms may have a greater difficulty allocating resources to provide for paid parental leave, there are multiple solutions. Some countries change policy depending on the size of establishments, including increasing government contribution or decreasing mandated benefits. Benefits. Leave entitlement of less than 1 year can improve job continuity for women and increase employment rates many years after a child is born. Extensions of leave beyond a year seem not to add that much benefit. Short paid or unpaid programs improve well-being of mothers and children's short-term and long-term outcomes. There is evidence that despite leave entitlements for both men and women, gender stereotypes affect uptake rates. Studies of state-paid parental leave in the U.S. and a number of OECD countries suggest that gender-based stigmas and negative attitudes in the workplace limits men's use of leave when they are entitled to it. Father quotas incentivize fathers to take leave by allocating a portion of their leave to only be usable by fathers. Some countries have more liberal parental leave policies, but have higher gender pay gaps than the United States. While the pay gap has shrunk in the past decades, the United States wage gap is larger than the median of 26 countries researched by the OECD. The gap in wage increases with age as women and men transition to parenthood. The benefits of the father quota. It incentivizes a split of paid parental leave, alleviating the burden from a single parent, while also changing expectations. Furthermore, policies that reserve leave for fathers are associated with an increase in the gender equal sharing of housework. Most countries that have a larger labor force participation from their mothers also have an overall larger labor force participation. The winners and losers. Children are clear winners. Healthy development for children is particularly important within the first 4 to 6 months of life. Involvement from both parents leads to better outcomes later in life. There is even some evidence from the U.S. that paid leave could lead to higher vaccination rates. Mothers. When paid leave is coupled with father quotas, it increases earning potential in the long term by alleviating the burden of parent penalties. Paid parental leave gives economic rewards to the largely under-rewarded job of raising children. Fathers. With the father quota, men are more likely to share in the penalties of parenthood in the workplace, but also gain improved family relationships. Employers. While these programs are more difficult for small firms, paid programs at state level seem to not have long-term impact on firms in terms of productivity, profitability, and total wage bill. Furthermore, retaining more parents with paid parental leave can decrease costs and time associated with finding a more permanent replacement. Labor supply. Paid parental leave can increase labor supply. It is difficult to get an exact number, but if benefits are less than a year, labor supply increases because it incentivizes parents to take advantage of paid parental leave instead of potentially leaving workforce more permanently. It can also increase labor demand. If every worker over their career took slightly more time off, then potentially it would increase need for slightly more labor to fill in the loss. Additionally, though, hours of overwork could add not as much benefit. Decreasing hours slightly might lessen the impact than just one worker leaving. Analysis. With limited negative impacts to labor supply or productivity and the gain of better childcare, the policy of government-mandated limited paid parental leave will lessen the gender pay gap and improve the careers of women many years after they have a child. It is generally concluded that benefits exceeding a year do not help to close the wage gap. Balancing enough paid leave to allow women to return to the workforce without over-incentivizing encourages less disruption to women's careers. Here are my sources.